Apple II forever, making life better and better. Apple II forever and ever, bringing the rainbow to you.
Hi, I'm Kate, or Kat. Hi, Kat. Hi, KansasFest. And in my standard introduction, in my day job, I am an educator. In my spare time, I like to play with Apple IIs. My project this last year has been messing around with the Apple Color Plotter 410. I picked one up off of the, it's this. I picked one up off the pile last year at KansasFest because I had heard of it when I was a child, and I didn't even know what a plotter was, but wow, did it sound neat and interesting. So, you know, however many years later. So right now, a lot of you are probably saying, the what now? This is not a device that got a lot of love back in the day. It is the Apple Color Plotter 410. It is not something that Apple designed. It is actually OEM'd from Yokogawa YEW, PL 3000. It was introduced in 1983 and was discontinued in 1988. So it did not have a ridiculously long lifespan, and it was $1,200, which is $3,600 today. So not a lot of these have survived. I don't think they sold a lot of them. So I have one. Kat, I have never heard of this thing. No kidding. There was not a lot of support for this. That's kind of been my, one of the big things I learned was there's not a lot out there about, if you Google Apple Color Plotter 410, there's almost nothing out there. The Wikipedia entry is about this long, and I've just basically covered everything in the Wikipedia entry. There have been a few people who've messed around with getting it talking to modern devices via like Python and other more modern, like Raspberry Pis, other more modern programming languages. I am not a programmer. More on this later. I teach English. So it's pretty rare these days. The fact that I saw this on the pile last year, I was like, must have. It was pretty wild. So how does it work? It is a serial device, RS-232. I had a lot of fun. The manual is available, luckily, on Internet Archive, so I downloaded that onto my iPad. So it's got, this is my Apple IIe, with a super serial card that is programmed, it's got its own set of dip switches and everything. It does not talk to the same, it does nothing, if you have an image writer, if you have a serial card set up for comms, you gotta reset all the dip switches. It prints in 4 colors. This is the pen and pen holder. I'm gonna have this set up somewhere. I'll figure that out later so people can play with it a little bit after the presentation. I would pass this around, but 1, I need it, and 2, this thing is super delicate. So it can print in 4 colors. They offered water-based pens, which is what these are, for paper, or you could get oil-based ink pens for drawing on transparency. So you could put an acetate sheet through here if you wanted to make like transparencies for an overhead projector. It works on the Apple II and early Macs. I have got it talking to my Mac Plus. So the way it works is the pens move on one axis, and then the paper moves on the other. So the pen is doing this, and the paper is doing this, and it draws whatever. It is what I call fiddly jank, because it is very janky, but yet very precise. One of the big problems I've been having with it, and this is, I can run a perfect self-test, and then I can run a terrible self-test. The way it changes pens is it goes all the way over. There's a little finger that's supposed to do this, and it doesn't always hit properly. Depends on how well balanced this thing is. This one's got cracks in it. So yeah, it's the most fiddly yet precise piece of equipment I think I've ever played with. But it's fun. So what does it do? There are a few software packages that will interface with it. Have I found any? No, but a lot of that is probably because they are CAD programs. Again, Apple II CAD, kind of, again, it's all, the one or two times I've used a CAD program in my life, it's been like AutoCAD and it's been graphical. So I can see what I'm doing. I don't, like my brain doesn't work code-wise, so I've never been able to really get them to work. It uses its own wonderful internal coordinate system that you have to learn if you're going to use it to do anything. I'll show you that on the next slide. What I've been doing a lot of is programming it in BASIC. And it uses its own language. I have the command summary here, so we can play. Again, I want people to come play with this later. Like things like MA, move absolute. That just moves the pen wherever you want it on the page. Move relative, if you want it to go 300 units forward, that's what you use. And then DA, and I didn't put them up there, but draw absolute and draw relative, drop the pen and actually draw on the piece of paper. And you can, the other ones I play a lot with is CA, draw circle, and AC, draw an arc. But it needs more information than that. It needs coordinates, and it needs to know where to go and what to do. I'm going to demonstrate that in a little bit. So I spent more time than I probably should have in Microsoft Word or Excel, I can't remember what I used, drawing a piece, making my own graph paper with the coordinates roughly on there. So you can see it go, hopefully you can see this, it goes from 0 on the x-axis to something like 2394. And on the y-axis, it goes from 0 to something like 19, or I can't remember. It's like, I want to say like 1979 or something like that. You have to learn what's where on the paper. You can fiddle with the number of units. You can fiddle with it. You can fiddle with just about anything. I'm just going by what I've been able to learn in my spare time in the past, year or so. So it's been a learning experience. These I will pass around. I have pages and pages and pages of iterations of programs and graph paper and more programs and figuring out where circle centers are and trying to draw the codex, which I still haven't finished figuring out yet because the lines are hard, and figuring out how circles work, and running self-tests, and just trying to do stuff with the thing. Another program I'm working on is trying to draw the Steelers logo because, woo, Steelers. But I will pass these around so people can see them. Please make sure I get them all back because I need, my disk that I had all the programs on isn't reading. I guess something must have gotten too close to it on the way here. So also, if anybody's a DOS 3.3 System Master in their kit, hi, help, do you? Because I would like to remake the disk. Which is a funny thing, so when you get into the programming, which is where we're going, can we flip over to the VGA? So like I said, my disk, I have a disk that I had a ton of programs on, and it got too close to something on the way here, and it's not reading at all anymore. Fun. So that's a problem for future me. So what present me did was there's two parts to the manual. I only have a paper copy of part 2. This is a little program that it comes in this called keyplot. And so what that does is it lets you directly communicate with the plotter. So I run this, and you can see, so the first 2 lines are to set up the inputs. And 30, PR number 2, it's on slot 2. So that's sending to the plotter. Got all the, I have to make sure over here that it's set up to pull. You can either run the plotter off there's a pen up, pen down, and arrow keys on the plotter, so you can like actually draw from the control panel. But I want to make sure it's set up for remote operation, which means it's ready to listen to the computer. And so ideally, I should be able to type commands based on, there's like 3 pages worth of commands that I printed out from the manual. So you can do a lot with this. I'm only just now scratching the surface. So I can move absolute, which means I want to move the pen. Oh, let me put the pens in. The pens all have these little black plastic caps on them to make sure that they don't dry out. And yes, these pens are like 40 years old and they still work. That's the scary part. And it only goes in one way. So let's go roughly the middle of the page. And I wish I don't have I wish I had a top-down camera, but I don't. So again, I'm going to set this up out in the lobby so people can play with it later. So that just moved the plotter pen to the middle of the page. And now if I wanted to say draw a circle, I would tell it, let me make sure I have the syntax right here. Okay, so CA tells it draw a circle. I want to draw a circle from the point where the plotter is, so I don't need to tell it a center, but I do need to give it a radius. So I can draw a circle with so the units, I don't remember what the units are, but you can change the units. I think it's like 0.2 centimeters or something like that is the default unit. You can change that. But I just run with the default. So it's 150 units. And now it's drawing a circle in whatever pen color I have selected. Oh. You need me to do it again? Okay. So now I will eject the paper, which there is a command for, but I can't get it to, and I just drew that. I know, impressive. I've been doing a lot with playing with circles because it's just like, that's kind of like, it's from a pattern, like one of the things I'd really like to figure out, but the math is like, again, I'm an English teacher. The math is so far above me that it's not even funny, and I don't even know if Applesoft Basic or ProDOS can do it, but I'd love to learn to program to make it do spirograph, if anybody's familiar with what spirograph. Maybe remember spirograph? Yeah. That's all based on some really high-end like calculus type math that I like spirograph math, and I looked at it and I was like, no, that is a big no. I always tell people I barely got through algebra 2. I never even took trig, so yeah, that's the thing. All right, why are you not loading? Oh, because I don't have it over far enough. Right. It would really help to load it if the wheels were picking it up. So like I said, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. I have the command summary. I'm going to have keyplot running so people can just just mess around with it. You can do lines. If I wanted to do a line, I'll move it somewhere on the page. Okay, it would help to do that. And then if I wanted to draw a line of 300 units from where the pen is, draw relative. Okay, that's not right. And it'll error. It'll tell you if you put the command in wrong, which I just did. It's been Oh, it's X and Y because you can draw, I always forget you can draw relative diagonal. So I just drew a short little line. Right there. I know you probably can't see it. These are old pens. Aw, thank you. These are old pens, so they bleed and they drip a little bit, but it is what it is. So that's just a little kind of snapshot of what I've been doing. Is then I went and I had a bunch of programs on this disk that I wrote that are, they're all in those sheets of paper that are going around, because what I've been doing is drawing stuff on drawing the stuff I want to draw on graph paper, and then writing the programs out, and then typing them in so I can get all the coordinates and stuff right. It is if somebody had given me one of these when I was trying to learn coordinate geometry, it probably learning y equals mx plus b probably would have been a lot better. Okay, so yeah, that's cool, Kat. You can write programs for it, and you can mess around with it in BASIC. But why? Why was this thing built? I mean, obviously, yeah, there were CAD programs available for it. The only one that I've ever been able to get to work so far, because it is graphical, is I was able to find the set of MacPlot is the set of drivers. This was funny because I didn't understand that MacPlot was just the drivers. And I'm like, oh, MacPlot, like Mac Paint or MacWrite or whatever. So I figured MacPlot should be the program that does it. No, MacPlot is just the drivers. Somebody on 68K MLA is like, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And then you have to add, so that loads the drivers, so you have that as an option, and you can change the pens, you can change whatever you want. And then you go into a CAD program like ClarisCAD, and then you can draw things, which I have done. I think somewhere in that sheaf of papers, there's one the Mac does something weird, and I haven't figured it out yet. There's one that it's a square with like a flower in it, and there's a lot of little dots, because the plotter keeps stopping. And I don't know if I think it's something with how it's sending the information, and every time, because the pens are old, every time it stops, it leaves a little dot of ink. I am still looking. So this is kind of the reason I wanted to do this talk, was I am still looking for programs, packages that run it. I am looking for community help on this is kind of my ongoing research project. Oh. That is not going to advance the slide. Why isn't it working? All right, so yeah, my current projects. One, cloning the pen holder. This is one that we've done a little bit of work on. So this thing, which I will pop the pens out, this is all it is. I guess is very small, is old ABS plastic, is very delicate because is very, very thin. Like, this is why I don't want to pass this around. It's already got cracks in it because I mailed it to Javier, who is not, sadly. We miss you. We miss you. Because he's very good at Tinkercad, and he modeled it and put a rough draft, essentially. And then the wonderful United States Postal Service, even though it was wrapped in like a ton of bubble wrap, it got cracked in the mail. I need to sit down and see if I can do something with airplane glue or whatever. But it is super delicate. And as I said, it needs to be very precise. For this pen rotation system, it really seems this needs to be pretty well balanced. So the rough draft we have needs a lot of refinement. Right now, it's a little bit big. And the other thing that there is a tiny metal spring in the pen holder that we need to figure out how to replicate. So, project. And we're also trying to clone the pens. which is a little bit harder because they have like a little tiny felt tip, and you got to be able to fill them with ink. Which, you know, when you're going to refill, you do that, you know, get a little pen and get a little syringe, go, and then, you know, cover the hole, whatever. But again, there's still a little. I had someone printed it out for me. I don't have a 3D printer, and I put it in the plotter, and it's just like a hair too big. But a hair too big, all the way around this, is way too big. So that's the big one. And like I said, I'm looking for software that supports it, software that supports it that's user-friendly. Did anybody work with CAD systems on the Apple II? Not very user-friendly? Yeah. Well, it was all text-based, wasn't it? Or did they have was it a graphical one? Okay, then I would love to find out about that, because a lot of the early CAD was text-based. You had to like program stuff. It was essentially like programming, which again, I'm really bad at. So I guess this is partially, this is how it worked, and partial community pitch. Hey, I am looking for more information on this really obscure piece that I have. So, questions? Yeah, it friction feeds just like an inkjet printer. The rollers, there are two rollers, there are two fingers that hold it, because it goes back and forth, because that's how it determines this, wherever it needs to be on this axis, it rolls the paper under the pen. Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good, if I type in a set of coordinates, since I've been mostly working with it in BASIC, if I type in a set of coordinates, I have a pretty fair idea. Usually it ends up right about where I want it to be.
The fact that circles come up looking like circles is factored in.
Yeah, the fact, you figure, you know, it's only moving like this. So to be able to draw, I mean, that's a pretty good circle when you're moving on, you know, just two 90-degree angles.
Position, lower the pin.
I do not. The question was, do I have information on the macro? But what do you mean by the macros? What it's actually sending? I do not have any information on the actual micro commands. I have not dug that far into it. I've mostly been trying to get it to draw pretty things. The question was, is there what the paper size? It will go up to 11 by 17.
Is it sending the text characters to them?
Yeah, I believe so. It's when I'm programming in BASIC, is it sending the text characters? I believe that's how it works, because it's just a straight serial or interface. You have to have, you know, all the dip switches in the right spot. And I have not dug that far into what is actually, what bits and bytes are actually being dripped through the line.
You looked at the program DiscoverCAD?
I have not. The question is, have I looked at the program DiscoverCAD? I have not.
I used DiscoverCAD in high school or whatever, but I saw that there's DiscoverCAD 2 for the 2GS. Specifically mentions 410 as supported.
Oh, okay. I will.
It's a graphical CAD.
Yeah, I was playing with it on my Discovery CAD is for the 2GS. I have played with this on my 2GS. This plotter does not have a huge buffer. The buffer is like, I think, 256 characters. So if you shove too much down the line too quickly, it drops. At first I had it on my 2GS, and I would run programs, and it would drop circles or it would drop lines. And when I hooked it up to my 2E with the card running, I think at like 400 or 800 baud or something ridiculous like that, it got a lot better. And yes, I know you can mess with the 2GS, but I got to the point where like, this is the machine one of the machines it was meant to hook up to, so let's start there. Oh.
Is it emulated by?
It is not that I know of emulated by anything, because I looked, because that would be a great way to test. I would love to be able to test programs in emulation before I, you know, fire this thing up. But no, it's, you know, that I know of, it's not emulated in anything.
Does it interface with logo for
It probably could if somebody knew how to make that. If somebody knew enough about logo and enough about that's something that would be a cool community project because it would be cool to interface with logo. I know Melody. Yeah, I'm sad that they're not here because I feel like she and I could have had a really great meeting of the minds about that because they probably know enough to get something like that going. Yes. Yes. Yeah, like I said, and I got it going. I got it talking. Does it have Mac support also? Yes. Early Macs, because it's serial. I have gotten it talking to my System 6 Macintosh Plus. I did draw something out of Claris CAD with it. So yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that was the one where I actually got to use a CAD program because it's a mouse and it's a mouse and it's graphical, and I'm a visual learner and visual person. So that's why programming stuff is hard for me. I need to draw it out on graph paper and then, okay, I need to do this command and then this command and then this command and then this command. Quite a while. If I wanted to draw like a circle the size of this page, it would take probably 15, 20 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when compared to modern stuff, it's an eternity. Because you just hear go yeah, typical plotter speed from that era, absolutely. Anybody else? If you have anybody, like I said, I'm going to try to set it up somewhere where people can play with it. I'd like to hope that I can get some of my programs back in so we can see some of I was drawing flowers and overlapping and squares and stuff. I've been working with simple geometry for right now. And I have the entire command set printed out. If you have any other questions, I'm around all week. And thank you for coming in and listening to me ramble about my pet project. Can the pens be refilled? Probably. Worst case scenario would drill a little hole and squirt it full of ink and cover it with like a sticker or something. So I think in theory, I am gonna try to post more of my finished stuff here because there's tons and tons of stuff. Did I get the disc fixed when I got home? Where did I find the pens? I found them on the pile next to I have a whole box of pens. I'm not gonna lie, I have a ton. There was a ton of plotter stuff last year on the pile, and I got it all because I am me. But for those of who, because it really wasn't on the stream, didn't come across very well. This is the thing we're trying to clone. This is what the pens look like. This is my research assistant is in my lap. This is the holder itself. This is my research assistant. His name is Goose. He says, "Mom, put me down. I'm trying to take a nap in your lap." Hi, Goose. Yes, Goose is no pocket dimension detected as of yet. But yeah, I am also, I'm proud to announce that I don't know, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I started a GitHub for this. As soon as I figure out what I'm doing with GitHub, because I've never used it before, I will post a repository here so that and probably other places, so the whole community. I want this to be a community kind of project. I want this to be a big thing. Ron asks, once you're able to get the plotter 100% working, will you be writing up any sort of formal documentation? I don't know if my documentation would be any better than what Apple put out, because that's basically what I'm using. I might write up some like quick start guides or something. I do like a little bit of technical writing, but Apple's documentation is pretty good for getting started. I do know that KansasFest has the scan of the user manual part 1 on Internet Archive is kind of not great, but I know KFest is working on getting a better scan out there. Quick start for printing in the 3D files for folks missing parts. Well, we got to get the 3D files fixed first. Yeah, maybe like the key plot, some other stuff. And yeah, the 3D files need a lot of help. And I am not, that is really not my area of expertise. I saw a couple people were typing, so if anybody, but yeah, this is just kind of been my pet project. It still is my pet project. I am going back through, I'm retyping and realizing that a lot of the programs I did at the very beginning, I didn't understand the coordinate system quite as well. So I have to edit a lot of them anyway. So I'm not terribly sad about losing a lot of those programs because I now realize they weren't that good. The plotter has its own direct interface. No, it just uses a super serial card. Blake's asking on the Zoom chat. No, it just uses a regular. So the super serial card has the manual has this is what you set for super serial card, and the plotter itself has dip switches on the back that you can change what it's looking for, so you can change it. The one nice thing that the scan on archive.org does have is a bunch of handwritten notes about getting it running on like a 2C and a 2GS, because that's a whole other ball of wax. One of the things I mentioned in the Q&A is the buffer for this thing is about 256 bytes. So it's not huge, and you cannot send it a ton of data at a time. Have you printed out that space shuttle demo? No, I have not, because I don't, without having the I think he used like the like modern interfaces to do that, and I don't have that up and running yet. Have you seen any evidence on the web of this being? Yes, we did. I touched on that, Blake. People are getting this. You talking to modern devices with like Raspberry Pis and stuff. Again, not my area. I'm more of a purist, so I'm trying to see what I can do with it just straight with the OG hardware. Yeah, that's Python. Yeah, yeah. What I know about Python is there was a thing called PyDance once that was a DDR clone. That is the extent of what I know about Python. Has anyone torn down the plotter to see if there's a firmware EEPROM that could be possibly reverse engineered? No, I have not. I do know that from taking part in cleaning it, there is an empty socket on the board. I don't know what that's for. That's me kind of maybe why I made sure someone like Joe got one, because he's very good at that. But yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of chips. It's a pain in the butt to get this thing apart because you have to take the platen off, and there's set screws, and this thing is a pain in the butt to tear down. But there are definitely, I'm sure there are stuff we could clone and reverse engineer. Again, that's kind of why I'm starting a Git repository for all of the community information. Baby cake photos next cleaning. Yeah, I will do that. I've got a better space for doing that now, so I can, do. Since Joe has one, it'll get cloned soon. Lol. GitHub has a pages mode, which makes it documented. Yeah, if anybody also looking for help with GitHub at this point, because I've never used it before. Paul is typing, so I assume he's about to cut me off. Yes. Yeah, I mean, ping me on the Discord, ping me directly, or I stream every week. Bother me in my chat. I would like to stream something with this, but I need to buy another webcam first. But thanks everybody, as I said, at KFest for humoring me as I talk about my little pet project, and I'm hoping to have more to report next year.